But ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about this first match. We, of course, already mentioned Astrea, aka Max Angel, possibly the greatest first and last names that has ever been gifted. I mean, he's not a min angel, he is the maximum angel.
Yeah, and he just did so much weird stuff. The cool thing about all the predictions and everything that we can say is we have evidence of every player in this tournament that's left against each other, and we talk about who can go far, who can make the big W's. These highlights from his series, he had a lot of really good PvT.
Definitely, and especially versus Time, actually.
I think because of that, if he can get through this series against Cham, playing on LAN, if he can keep up this performance, he's got 2 Terrans coming up next.
Yeah.
The possibility for him to get up to Neeb, whether or not he wins it's one thing, but just getting up there, getting those points, getting that extra prize money would be really awesome.
No, I'm absolutely with you. Astrea is actually my pick for breakout player 2019. I think this is the guy that's going to go very, very far. Not even necessarily just in this tournament, but just in the future. 2019, he's looking so strong. He's got his own unique way of playing the game. Even in his PvZs, he is this one player you'll see opening up one base. He'll go for double gas openings and mix it up, and then he'll go into like an expansion later. He just throws his opponents off with his weird plays that seem catered to whatever the current meta is. And I think that's going to be really interesting because these guys did play actually in the round robin, and I'll talk a little bit more about how those games went, because Astrea did end up losing that series 1-2, and I really want to see what does he come up with during that time.
Yeah, it's going to be a completely different environment now that they're playing under. It's a very different feeling when you're playing at home versus coming down. Even in this studio, you're chilling. There's production people running all over the place. You've got these weird commentators in the back talking about you because we're like 20 feet away from them. Well, they've got noise canceling headsets, but it's a whole different vibe. Cham, of course, someone that, well,
he's been around the block.
Yeah, and he's been playing for quite a while, very good in his region, in his scene. What I'm interested in, because of how much we saw of it, and you guys actually just saw it earlier in this clip, stuff like the Nidus change, which pretty much was the round of 8 for WCS,
that was quite a bit
Americas, and Europe. What kind of adjustments are going to be made here? How is this going to impact the strategy choices? Will he feel that he can't do as much? Will he feel that there's something else that's better that he's got coming up?
Oh, I think one thing that really excited me about Cham is a lot of his games weren't entirely just based around, oh, I'm going to win with a nice one. Like, I would say Scarlet, while I think she's still a very good player, she was one of those players that just went nuts on the Nidus storm. Cham played a lot of really good late game ZVT, ZVP plays and everything. Especially, I think one of the big upsets, taking out Special and actually knocking him out of WCS Winter, one of the guys that a lot of people expected to be here at this stage of the top 6 and everything. So Cham is the reason why that didn't happen. And his next 2 opponents, if he, like we were saying, Astrea having a really good PvT, Cham being Special, that's a big thing. You must have a very good ZVT for that. And it wasn't just based off the Nice Worm.
I do think that Masa and Times TVZ probably going to be better than their TVP, but yeah, you're not wrong. He's gotten those big wins, and I also, Cham has just been going at it, and I think M. Canning said it best. He's a grinder, and he just got picked up by Chivo.
Yep.
When you're in a party with M. Canning, you get buffs. It's just morale increases. You just look better in general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? More photogenic, all of that. So the M. Canning magic may also be able to charm him, even though he picked Astrea.
Yeah. Team Chivo, good pickup there. But
I do think it will be a close match, though.
I agree. And I want to go back to the fact that these guys already played against each other in the round robin, and the way that those games kind of played out. So Astrea was able to take the first game versus Cham by doing exactly what I was saying, that double gas opening where he delays his natural, he gets up his gateway, his cyber core, double gas, and then eventually goes for the Nexus. And then he goes into this really weird, very unorthodox 5 gateway, like 8 sentry, mass zealot, no charge or anything attack. And it turned into this very weird game that Cham clearly felt very uncomfortable with. He was stuck on layer tech units versus like Colossus for 18 minutes of the game. But then I want to note, Cham adjusted game 2. He went for a 12 pool, or I think like a 15 pool, 15 pool before hatch. And Astrea just didn't have an answer. He actually just died there. And it seemed like after that, Astrea just didn't really get to play his game. So I really want to know, is Cham going to be able to predict Astrea like he did in the round robin? Or is Astrea going to be able to come up with some new tricks?
It's time to find out. Just want to say thank you to everybody tuning in around planet Earth, joining us here for the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series as we get our way into our first match. We will be going into that very soon.
There it is. And by the way, big shout out once again to our wonderful observer, Awesome Sauce, who's going to be observing all the games today, I believe.
Yeah, so you won't have to deal with the observing that.
Oh, yeah.
We brought you in the earlier stages. We have our first player in the southeast position, spawning as the red Zerg. He is Cham.
And spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, he is the blue Protoss player from Team Alpha X. It is Astrea. Max Angel.
Max Angel.
You know, the $3,000, even if he gets knocked out in this match, that is already almost 50% of this prize earnings total in his career.
Nice.
Pretty solid. But it looks like this is, okay, so funny enough, in the round robin, they played this map, King's Cove, and Astrea went for a Nexus first on this map last time as well. This was actually their game 3, I believe. So, Cham going for hatch gas pool, not expecting any kind of early gateway aggression, or not trying to punish any of that stuff they did before.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing about this is that because of the round robin, and you can talk all day about, you know, there's discussions as to the GSL style is perfect. There's literally nothing wrong with it at all. But the cool part about this is those group stages, while, you know, they're fun, they're tried, they're true, they're classic, it's really not uncommon for a couple of those players to not hit each other in those groups. And then they face off later, and you're like, oh, well, what will they do against each other? But we already do have some kind of idea. We know that Astrea does weird stuff in every matchup, and we know we kind of expect Cham to be a more all-around solid player. So I'm just wondering what those adjustments are, if there are any. And I like seeing the Nexus first out of Astrea. I like that very greedy play because to me it just shows, he's come here, he's come to bring his A game. He's not psyching himself out, which is something that when you go to play on LAN, and you're, especially when you're not a crazy experienced player who's been getting on main stage at WCS tournaments, which Astrea hasn't, is that's a really important sign of confidence, in my opinion, because I think one of the biggest things that you do is you put this pressure on yourself. You're like, oh my God, I'm here, I'm playing on LAN, everybody's going to be watching me, everyone's going to see my face when I lose or win, and that's a big thing too.
No, absolutely, and I think that's actually one thing I really appreciate about Astrea. Whenever I see him hang out with him at Cheesadelphia's and stuff, he's one of my favorite players for one specific reason. There's a lot of players out there, they show up at the LAN events, they show up in these kind of high stress, high pressure situations where a lot of people are watching, and a lot of them just get nervous and then they don't get to play their game. Astrea, at least in the past at some of the smaller events like Cheesadelphia and everything, he is the guy that thrives on that. He wants to be on camera. He is the guy that he brought props for celebrations in case he wins. He is amped up about being here.
And to tie it back into this group as well, a player that I think very characteristically has trouble going from the smaller tournaments to the bigger ones would be someone like Amasa, who performs extremely well on home turf and has classically never been like a crazy contender in WCS as far as like getting those deep runs, getting the tournaments. We see him, he qualifies for almost everything, but he almost never delivers on the same level in a big tournament as he does in the small ones.
Absolutely. So, okay, I want to know, this is actually the exact same follow-up that Astrea used in Game 3 from the round robin. He goes for one Void Ray. He did go for a second Void Ray in the round robin as well, and then he added on the double Stargates. And the funny thing is, this exact same sort of situation played out before, and Cham had the perfect reaction. He saw the Void Rays, he saw the two Void Rays, and it seemed like he just had a perfect read on the fact that Astrea was going to go into this mass air army follow-up here. And the way that Cham responded was, I'm just going to get up my Spire, I'm going to get up a ton of Corruptors, and he obliterated the air army build up there from Astrea. Corruptors, Caustic sprayed down all the Nexus and everything, and Astrea just got dominated in that game. So I want to see how this one plays out.
I vividly remember the Void Rays were out of position. The Corruptors got the main base, and then there was the big attack on the third, and by the time he got there, it was already too late. and the economic damage really set him far behind. So is this, and this is the cool thing, right? There's also opportunity for growth as these players are real human beings, and they have the opportunity to try to make some meta plays. I'm going to build the Void Ray so that you think I'm going to do that strategy, so that you go Corruptors, and I just rush Mass Archons, which kill everything. And then I actually still don't catch the Corruptors while they destroy your buildings.
What's also interesting is that we do have +1 melee being researched over here from Cham and a Hydra Den. So Cham is also mixing up his own response after moving in with that Overseer. He saw I think one of the Robos going down. A second Robo's on its way up alongside a Robotics Bay. And I've got to say, if there's one unit that I just see Astrea use a lot across the different matchups, it is definitely Colossus. He really loves that Robotech, going for Colossus and Disruptors, and also just, I think delaying Storm is something I've definitely noticed him doing a lot.
Like the use of the Void Ray there, just lasering down the hatch, forcing the cancel, and Void Ray harass. Who does this?
I mean, it's got a lot of shields, and if there's only one Queen there, and a lot of Zerg players will look at the Void Ray and be like, I don't need a Spore, that's fine. It's not gonna obliterate my drones immediately, but
it's that's like the weird thing where you're like, well, he didn't go for Oracle, he didn't go for Phoenix, so I guess I don't need Spore. So then the Void Ray's like, I can still kill stuff.
It's just what Astrea does, right? He goes through these kind of weird, unorthodox choices, and it forces you to question yourself, saying, okay, this is what the standard response is, but I don't know what the standard response is to this, so I have to think about this on the fly, in the moment, and hope that I make the correct guess. He's putting the strategy in the strategy game.
Void Rays are actually weirdly good at that, in that situation, just like when you think about drones trying to move away, because once the Void Ray's attack starts, its range increases. So trying to get the last hit off on the drone is not that difficult for it, since they can kind of shoot while moving as long as they're tracking that unit. And I love this, the follow-up you're talking about. We have extended thermal lance coming in. And depending on the control, I feel like the Colossus, there's so much micro potential in these fights, because we talk about things like the Zerglings. Yeah, if you let the Colossus just shoot that, then maybe the Hydra Bane in this scenario could get up to you. But focus fire is really, really big with this army composition. I'm excited to see what he can do with it, how hard he goes into it, and what the response for Cham will be, because going straight into Corruptors the way that he did against the Void Rays would not, even if it wasn't against this time, it would still not be the worst thing, because you are going to have to deal with those Colossi at some point.
Yeah, but the Spires are going to take so long, and the push out is already happening. We, I think, should have a third Colossus on its way out, as it is starting to get rallied across the map, and he's building an Observer to try and clean up some of the creep spread.
Yeah,
this is just a fake poke out.
Yeah, as walking on the creep, like, yeah, he's got the 2 Colossi, but there's really not a whole lot else to supplement
very little gateway units.
And as good as the Colossus can be versus Zerglings, if you have nothing to support it, yes, Zerglings can destroy them.
It's just so funny. This is an incredibly passive game from both sides, and usually, if a Zerg player is just left alone and doesn't have any form of pressure, they can just sort of start out-macroing their opponents and overrun them. You already see Cham's been up to 82 drones now. He's getting up his Hive, he's getting up his Spire, so there is going to be a timing window where Cham has to hit before things like Broodlords or a ton of Corruptors can really pop out, and he's starting to make his push forward. He's trying to force out some more units over here. And the Colossus, they got to do a lot, but here comes a Baneling run by into the third.
Cheeky little Bane run by, making its way through. There is some City with the Warp-ins, with the Banelings. Oh, wow, look at that.
Oh, they don't have +2 weapons. Yeah.
That was a very good adjustment there. As you mentioned, +2 attack is what allows the Banelings to one-tap those probes, but not enough of them able to get through. Only losing 3 workers for that many Banelings, not bad.
And those Banelings are now not going to be a part of this next fight, so 9 more Banelings being morphed in over here for Cham, but if Astrea is able to move in right now, as the Banelings are just now finishing up, some good force fields being dropped down, he's trying to pick away at some of these units. The Lings and the Banelings coming in from a flank from the north side, getting on top of a lot of these Stalkers. The Colossus back up. Is there enough here for Cham? The Colossus is the key units here.
This is still terrifying. That's a lot of Hydralisks with 4 Colossi, a ton of AoE firepower. He's got a couple of the Hydra split off towards the top side to flank this. Now, the Colossi can retreat down the cliff to run away from this, and he has the War Prism to go for the pickup micro, and we really get to see these Colossus in a sustained fight are able to do catastrophic amounts of damage. The next Warpin will come in. Very important for trying to pull this back. Keep in mind, these Stalkers do not have Blink. These are just being added to supplement damage and soak hits from those enemy units.
Yeah, I also want to note that because he was doing all the Colossus micro, every single time he does that, he's not actually warping in reinforcements right now, so he doesn't have that large of an army still. 2 of the Colossus have fallen now. The Warp Prism was in warp-in mode, so it couldn't pull back any of these Colossus. He misses the pickup on one of those others, and I think that this push is just not going well enough for Astrea.
He was able to take a 4th behind this, so it's not like he's in an all-in position since Cham is just now, he's got the 5th base done, but not really any significant amount of drones there yet. And a pretty reasonably similar amount of resources traded. Of course, we talk about units that take forever to build. The Colossus is very high up on that list.
I'm really concerned because he lost all of the Void Rays, and he still has a Stargate, but you already see the Broodlords are starting to morph in. This was the big timer we were talking about. This push was made to try and put more pressure on Cham, and Cham has weathered the storm. And ironically, I don't know that the storm that Astrea has coming up is actually going to be good enough. Well, Cham's going to start pushing across the map because he's got the units to do it. He's going to actually catch a bunch of these Zealots as well, so gets a cleanup over there. We'll see if he decides to continue pushing.
I want to see the Baneling harass. He's got the +2 melee.
Yeah, he tried to go for some of that earlier. I guess he really wants to save it for the push now.
At this point, you got to, I guess it's you look at it, and Astrea, he's not really transitioning
High Templars.
What he was doing before. Certainly, you get a couple of good hits off on that Colossus, but still, most of its hit points remain. But like you said, Broodlords, and I'm also very concerned because Blink is only halfway done now. So in a world where he has enough Stalkers to try and go for that type of play, he still can't. Like, without Blink, you don't get underneath Broodlords without Blink.
Ooh, now the Warp Prism harassing could be really annoying. We do have a Ling run by heading up to the 4th base of Astrea. Does he have a lot of units? He does actually have a decent number of Gateway units over here. And with +2 weapons, he does 2-shot those Lings with the Zealots, and he comes poking on forward.
He sees the Broodlords. So this is first indication now, and immediately pulls the army back, so now he needs to figure out how he wants to try and tackle this. He starts air weapons level 1, as a couple of these Stalkers do get grabbed on the right side. And another Stargate and a Fleet Beacon, so I guess to Tempest we go.
Yep, pretty solid
Still
answer.
pretty far from getting there.
Yeah, what's the Corruptor count out right now for Cham? I know he has 5 Corruptors on the way. He has 2 Corruptors out, so he actually doesn't really have that many Corruptors to take out either the Colossus that's out, but also the Void Rays. So the Void Rays are finding some really nice damage. The Hydra's not quite in position, but now they're going to actually start picking off these Void Rays who really start overcommitting. Can he get 3? No. Gets 2 Broodlords.
Getting a couple of those Broodlords really big. But this army's still kind of pinned down. I think he used Recall on the Colossus.
This army, it's a bit trapped right now. Oh, well, Cham
getting stuck here. See, this is really bad because now losing these units.
Oh, the High Templars especially.
The High Templar. You could try to do something here with the Stalkers. He's just gonna sack them.
Oh no, he's not focus firing down any of the Broodlords. Okay, there's some storms. He does soften up 2 of them. He almost gets a 3rd, and there's the 3rd one dying. It does come at a big cost though.
I mean, given the circumstance, I think he made the most of it.
He did.
He's actually really, trimmed the fat on the Broodlords. There's only 4. Killed quite a few of them with what he had just running around there. But now his ground army, we're going to have to start worrying about those Hydralisks and Banelings again soon.
Yeah, he just freshly warped in those 4 High Templars, so they don't actually have Storm, and Cham is starting to move in. These Colossus have a lot of work cut out for them. There are 2 or 3 storms available still, and the rest of the High Templars will have energy in maybe another like 10 or so seconds. So if he can hold out long enough.
Wow, this is a really nice grab. Gets these morphing Banelings, and stuff like the way that he was running around. Look at this Observer. I was gonna say he's done a great job of clearing out the creep. So this Hydra Baneling, the slip and slide to bring that army crashing down on the Protoss, is not there.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really crucial component for anyone playing late game versus Zerg, because if that creep, it doesn't need to be on the Protoss base, but if you get it just outside, then it's a lot easier to pull things like your Queens and get the reinforcements for slower units like the Infestors much faster.
Corruptor's looking for some kills on either the Colossus, but they might be looking for kills on the Tempest soon as they start taking some damage. But the Hydra's walking through some of these storms. They're eating a lot of damage here. How many storms are actually left over? The Corruptors still alive, but the Stalker's actually blinking forward and picking them off pretty quickly. There's not that many left.
Yeah, this is a tense situation because he has the Tempest that you were talking about, but You need those shield batteries set up to keep this army sustained. We're going to have some Zealot harassment over here. Spine crawlers are going to do a great job of soaking up, buying a bit of time.
Getting out of the
infestors.
Oh, nice transfuse.
Noise.
Saves the infestor. These Zealots going to at least pick away at some of the static defense, so maybe opening up an opportunity to move back in later. The armor upgrades also helping out a bit, letting these Zealots survive just a little bit longer. And oh my god, the Broodlords, are they just exposed by themselves? No, there's still some of the infestors on the low ground. The Corruptors are here as well. Fungal Grow's coming down on top of this army saying, you cannot leave.
You cannot blink out of Fungal. This isn't the old days.
Uh-oh.
Those High Templar are going to get caught too, not able to get any more Storms off, not able to at least try and turn into an Archon.
Well, there's some Zealot harassment on the far right-hand side, so he's going to be able to maybe pick off a base here. If he can pick out some of the Broodlords, if he can survive over here, there's hope, but no. GG.
He couldn't even one-shot the Broodlords with the number of attempts that he had there, unfortunately. And really well played game by Cham. I love the idea behind what Astrea is trying to go for. Like the Colossi, you really have a ton of micro potential with that. The Prism on that push, but Cham did a really good job of capitalizing on the soft spot of that, which was moving those units to that high ground. High ground is nice, yes, but the way that map is designed, you have that flank position built into it, and you have to consider that. When those Banelings came in on the side, got the Stalkers, I think he actually got all of the sentries there.
He got all the sentries, so there's no force fields.
Yeah, and if you have those sentries, and you keep the Banelings off of them, then that flank position is not as bad. That's the point of force fields. But in this particular situation, Cham just made a really good play, and Astrea couldn't keep up.
Yeah, that's absolutely exactly what happened. So now we end up having a situation where in a best of 5, Cham is going to be up 1-0. Now that means that Astrea still has some games to play with. He's still going to have some chances to pull this back. But Cham definitely dominating that game, and I think it was a different reaction from what we saw in the round robin of how they play this out. Both of them kind of played it out a little bit differently, but Cham's still looking really, really solid when it just looks like a normal-ish game.
Yep, I mean, he made his transitions very smoothly, great defense, had plenty of units out at every point in the game. What really impressed me was not throwing away the units that he wasn't using in certain phases, particularly when those Broodlords went and got killed on the southwest side of the map. He had something like 8 or 9. He lost 2 to the Void Rays, almost the 3rd there, and then the Storms, the Stalkers. It was a good job of trading out by Astrea. But I just really like that he didn't do anything crazy. He didn't like try to throw his Hydra Bane into them, lose anything to the Storms. And by the time that we had the Tempest coming out, there was that next wave, but it was a huge Hydra Bane. He wasn't going back into Broodlords. Cham, very good game sense in this to not overcommit to any of the decisions that he made.
I would say that's actually the key word there, right? Is the game sense. He just always seemed to have a pretty good read on exactly how many units he needed to make at any time, when it was safe to go for the Broodlord transition, everything. He never really got caught super by surprise or super off guard by anything outside of maybe, I think, one time the Broodlord's starting to get picked off by some of the Void Rays and stuff. But really, really solid job. We're going to move into new repugnancy for game number 2. And remember, that was all off the back of a Nexus first, a Stargate double Void Ray opening and stuff. It's some weird stuff.
But I'm going to say this, it is a greedy way to play. If someone wants to bring early aggression towards you and you go for a Nexus first, you're asking for it.
Yeah.
And regardless of whether Cham attacks in this game or not, that first map, Astrea got to do exactly what he wanted. If you do a strategy like that, your hope is that you don't have to sacrifice your early economic bonus to get that, next stage against the cheese. But he wasn't really
messed with
at all.
Yeah.
And he wasn't able to make that game plan work. That's what concerns me.
And he was also against what you would think would be the ideal composition, right? Where if you're going to make a bunch of Colossus and you're up against Lings,
so that's my fear.
Hydras, and Banes.
For that reason, I would like to see Astrea maybe try something a little bit different or take a different approach to that. These guys are really good. I don't think he's going to do like the same exact thing. But if you go for that Nexus first, you really need to make sure that why are you playing it for this way? Like, how are you leveraging the advantage that comes out of having that extra chrono boost a bit earlier, right? The Nexus being faster gives you the supply faster, right? All of that.
Yeah.
How do you carve that out to make it worth it for the risk that you would otherwise have in a normal game?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Different players sort of prepare for these matches differently. I know that Astrea is actually one of the players that I was talking with him earlier, and he said, yeah, I'm going to play this out the same way that I always do my series. I'm going to decide what builds I'll do when the time comes. When I actually am about to jump into the game, I'll think about what I want to do. And Cham is one of those players I think does a little bit more preparation work, kind of figures out what builds or things he might want to do per match, but then he's ready to adapt. He's ready to mix it up a little bit, which I think is where a lot more players sit. So how is Astrea going to adapt after that first game is a big question.
And my comparison, diving deep onto that starting thing that I'm talking about so much is just when we watch Neeb play, and when we watched Neeb play in the round of 8, we see from him a very different style of opening. He'll go for the gate first. We'll see him always push out the Adept or two and just try to get something done. So he doesn't make his focus around getting money to support a build. His focus is about getting early scouting information, keeping his opponent on his toes. Or her toes.
I feel like that's actually almost most Protoss players.
Right. So if Astrea doesn't want to do that, you should be looking to, in a very greedy sort of way, cheese yourself something earlier than you should have it. Whether and for Void Rays are very safe. So it's weird for me. He got 3 drone kills with the Void Ray that he did the harass with. He got a cancel on a hatch, but to me a Void Ray in PvZ is very defensive. And if you're opening economically into defensive, you're not necessarily taking advantage of what you want, and especially because those Void Rays did die before the Cryptors came out, and we didn't really get to see them used in a meaningful manner. But we're going into Game 2 now, and we will see what adjustments our Protoss player makes as we head into New Repugnancy. I love this double shot. In the northeast, spawning as our red Zerg player leading this best of 5, 1-0 from Team Chivo. He is Cham.
And his opponent, starting down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, representing Team Alpha X, is the blue Protoss player, Astrea.
We talk about how cool of a name Max Angel is.
One of the coolest, if not the coolest.
Cham's handle, based on his plate, is his middle name. That's Cham sounds like that's a pretty solid middle name. Not a lot of people would want to go by their middle names as like a recognizable handle.
What's your middle name?
Lawrence.
Really?
Yeah.
Nathan Lawrence Fabricant.
Yeah. But it's Lawrence with a law.
Ah.
Yeah.
Why didn't you go to law school then?
Money.
Isn't that why people go to law school?
Yeah, it's one of those weird things, right?
Well, a more normal-looking opening here from Astrea. So he's not going for the double gas, kind of a meme build that I was talking about before. Goes for the Gate Nexus core. And Cham going to be opened up with a hatch gas pool. So normal stuff from both sides. This was actually one of them. I think this was the first map that they played in the round robin, where Astrea did go for that double gas mass zealot sentry attack that caught Cham off guard. This is the map that Astrea did manage to win versus Cham last time. So with a different build, we'll see what he's going to be busting out here.
Cham played so comfortably in that last game. And to me, that's always something that's terrifying when you get to the long game against an opponent who can really handle the army composition. I think about the Hydralisk positioning.
Yeah.
Hey, the way that he had them fanned out on the bottom of the ramp, the way he was ready to take that side engagement, and then the smooth transition into the Broodlords, getting everything else that he needed. And I asked myself, what can Astrea do? I feel like go for one of those crazy timings. Try to make one of those pushes work, the weird ones that we have seen him take maps off of. You have a little bit more room to breathe. This is not a best of 3. So Astrea, if he feels like he can't win the macro game in the same way that he wanted to the first map, and you know what, honestly, if he thinks that he made a mistake that he can correct and he can do something similar, it's not like that his strategy was terrible. He had all the pieces. They just weren't in the right spots.
Yeah, Adept pressure is coming on in, so he is mixing this up again a little bit more. Just getting some scouting information, confirming how many drones there are, seeing how many drones are actually mining gas, making sure that there's no all-ins or anything coming, as he does open up with an Oracle first. I'm going to continue to harass with that Adept, but yeah, Cham, I think he is one of those players that does have a reputation of sometimes being a bit predictable. He usually has his kind of set way of playing. I know for a long time he used to be very, very synonymous with a roach Zerg player, just a player that likes to make a ton of roaches, move across the map, shut down a lot of Protoss armies or Protoss players that were very greedy. So he's come a long way. He's actually adapted his playstyle. He's mixed it up a good bit more this year. But how is he going to be reacting?
Well, we do have something a little different from Astrea this game, right? So as the Warp Gate finishes, he starts a Robo, but it's an Oracle, and there's a second Oracle coming up behind it. So he's going to be playing for a different style of that control. Now Cham has the Queens in position. He's very prepared, very ready. He already has the Spore Crawlers as well. So Astrea is going to have to try and find a different way to make these Oracles do what he needs them to. Of course, with the second one, he can kind of fly in, maybe try to snipe a couple drones and get out. But third Oracle...
You know, Petit Drogo read a really interesting blog article about, I think, some PvZ stuff where, I think, if I recall correctly, he called it the triple, where I think you...
The triple?
Triple? I might be misremembering this now, because I'm sitting my EU prep for tomorrow. But I know that you mentioned, like, going for the 3 Oracles, adding on, like, I think a couple of other things there, and we'll see if Astrea is going to be putting on a big amount of pressure here, where it's going to be the Adepts joining together with the same time as the Oracles and really trying to get a lot of damage done.
Yeah, I can see it. I find it curious, since the Adepts and the Oracles would be good at killing the same things.
Yep.
But for this harass, now I really like it. The Adepts are able to get a few more drone kills there. 6 workers picked off.
Is that a 4th Oracle in production?
You know what? He's
that's a 4th. Okay.
He's got a can't stop, won't stop mentality for this game. I dig it. There's a lot you can do with these. Deny this base, easy.
Nicely done. So what's kind of interesting here is you don't usually see a Protoss player going up to this many Oracles unless they were going for like some of the old school Oracle memes where you're just pumping out non-stop Oracles from like multiple targets, but that's not the case here.
I saw a mass Oracle build. The last one I remember was from some really handsome American Protoss player.
M. Canning?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I was so blinded in his glory that I actually don't remember the instance. I just have a brief impression in my mind. I'll write a book about it one day or something.
Could have also been Hitman.
No, not that.
One Oracle looks like it is gonna get very, very low. Is it gonna get sniped off at the natural? Recall comes out, and he will be able to get away alive here. I do want to also note that as these Oracles pick up even more drone kills, and Astrea takes the worker count lead. Nidus, oh my god, he almost threw that nice storm right in front of the Oracles, and the Oracles just kill every single drone in this mineral line. Oh my god. Wait, did he get vision of that Nidus Swarm as the Oracle moved away? No, he didn't.
I can't believe he got every single drone.
So the funny thing is the Nidus Swarm coming out, but we're at almost the 7-minute mark, Nate. There is no plan for an immediate third anytime soon. This is just the army.
Mean, maybe he like tries to force a base trade with it. That's what I could see working here. Or if he is able to like catch this army in a good spot, it's just 2
He's got some force fields.
It's 2 Immortals, and Charge isn't ready yet.
No, it's not. He needs to buy time.
the real fear is wow, okay, so he's gonna drop the Nidus and do this at the
same
time.
Immortal. Okay, dodges out of the way the Corrosive Bile. These Zealots, they don't have charge, but the Immortals are getting a bit of a meat shield there. A third Immortal pops out.
Reinforcement wave is going to come in hot, though, as we do have the Nidus completing. And you know what? We're talking about how many Nidus Swarms we were going to see today. Now we're seeing them the way that perhaps a little more intended to be used for this reinforcement point up towards the front with the army and battering down the walls. We've got the Queens. More Roaches are going to spill out. However, 4 Immortals are going to try to hold the door.
This is the most all-in of all-ins. Cham is down to 29 workers. He's trying to drone up behind this, which does mean the reinforcements are not going to be as strong. But does he have enough to break through? He's taking out some of the shield batteries that Astrea was looking to build, and photon cannons as well. Those Astrea's trying to save some of these. He eats a big Corrosive Bile in one of his sentries. Remember, the force fields are going to be so key for him to try and keep these Immortals alive as well.
Yeah, he's just using the Bile as a zoning tool while he kind of hammers away on this base, but really not able to find too much purchase with those Corrosive Biles. And I feel like with the drones that he's lost, he really needs to break this natural to have a hope of winning.
And I mean, Astrea's finished up charge. He's got +1 weapons now. He has to rebuild his Cybernetics core, it looks like, which is a little bit awkward. But he's taken out so many of these Roaches. I actually, especially with Cham making big rounds of drones behind this, he's not going to have any more reinforcements. I'm pretty sure Astrea's got this now, this hold.
Yeah, no, he's just done a really good job not losing any of the Immortals, and he's got a 5th one that's about to pop out.
I
War Prism is still
this.
harassing, and everything just kind of came up aces this game for Astrea, and I'm gonna bring it back to this weird thing that some Zerg players do, where they'll put that fast spore in the main. He had the queens in the natural to start, but just never getting the follow-up spores cost him everything. And yeah, the Immortals are gonna come clean this Nidus up, and I think Astrea has a pretty solid A move to victory set up here.
Yeah, it's a scary army.
His army's disgustingly better than what Cham can put out now because of that commitment to roaches. You've got 5 Immortals.
And the only thing that Cham's going to be making right now are Roaches and Ravagers. Those are going to get torn apart. Ravagers are kind of the saving grace here. If he gets the most amazing Corrosive Biles, maybe if he kills off the...
I'm not even sure the most amazing Corrosive Biles are enough. I think there's too much surface area in just the Immortals alone to kill them with Corrosive Biles.
Yeah.
Even if they tried to stack all of them. Well, maybe if you tried to stack all of them.
He did soften up the War Prism, which was kind of nice. And over here, we're going to see Cham has to make a stand. He cannot afford to... Oh my god, if he's going to lose the Roachborn, that's going to even slow down more reinforcements.
And here we go. He's going to break down some of the force fields with those Biles, but 5 Immortals are going to walk into a Zerg base and say, well met. To what should end up being a victory here. Astrea played this game very well. Really good with the harass. Love the way that he changed up the Stargate opening. Drones are coming off the line, but... Another Immortal comes in from the back, and even that, the
not even going to be able to kill one.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Astrea doing a great job with this push. He mixed it up a really, really big bit. In a 2-base all-in here from Astrea. Takes the game.
Yeah, very, very well done.
The 4 Oracle harassment, Nate. The 4 Oracle harass. Turns out if there's a queen or 2 and 1 spore, the Oracles don't care. They just kill the whole mineral line.
That was insane. 17 drones dying, and because the follow-up was going to be that attack, probably regardless of whatever Cham was doing, Astrea had everything he needed to defend because he had, as you pointed out, the 2 Immortals, and then that 3rd one finished up right as that attack was starting to hit. Really important. When it comes to armies like this, for Protoss player, your entire army's a meat shield for the Immortals because the Immortals can and will kill everything if they don't get jumped at the start of the fight.
Oh yeah, exactly. And Cham wasn't really able to close the distance appropriately because of the Zealots, but even when he was trying to push in and there were 3 Immortals there, you saw that Cham was trying to go in through the north side of that natural expansion. He was trying to pick away at some of the shield batteries. Because if the shield batteries get up or the photon cans, there's no way Cham is ever going to break that. So he tries to go after those, but that just gives the Immortals more chances to get pot shots in.
To me, the biggest thing that stands out about that particular map is the harass that we talked about, because in that scenario, what you would want it to try to do is get out a Ling flood behind that to maybe come through the Nidus, wrap the Lings around the Immortals, and drop the Biles on them there. Because there's no universe where you're going to say, okay, I'll drop Biles in this spot. I'm going to attack an assimilator. No one's going to lose their Immortals walking through Biles to save an assimilator.
It was actually unfortunate because he did have Lings with the initial push-in. And what ended up happening was because the Lings didn't get the wraparound, they were just at the front line kind of attacking in.
They all just died
So when
Astrea's
army starts backing up from the Corrosive Biles, the Lings actually were just dying to the Corrosive Biles there as well. So he lost a lot of those, and they didn't have that reinforcement wave you were talking about to try and do that same wraparound.
Because the Adepts came in during that attack. Like
there's a lot of micro going on at the same time.
It's very good awareness from Astrea as well to take advantage of that, because the Zerg player's 3rd. You've cleared out that mineral line. So yes, this Nidus is scary. This big push is scary, but you're also at the same time like, this should be it. This is not one of those games where the Nidus is just constantly pumping out units. Like that Nidus was just a transport for the Queens, really, at the end of the day, because he tried to go back into making drones, like you said, in the middle of the fight.
I also have to give props to Astrea for the fact that he had the Oracle still killing more drones as the army was pushing across the map. And that's such a scary position as a pros player, right? You see this army of roaches and ravagers and queens and stuff going to be making their way across the map. And you still say, I don't need the energy for these Oracles to help defend with stasis traps or even just trying to focus down ravagers. I can force you into an all-in position, because otherwise, imagine that those Oracles didn't kill an additional like 10, 15 drones there. Cham is still sitting at not exactly a super healthy count, but he's got like 45 or so workers still alive. And it's not nearly as much of an all-in. Cham doesn't have to completely kill Astrea right there in order to like try and pull that game back.
Yeah. So the next map will be Automaton, and we have our lobby together as the players are.
I think they're just asking to see if there's a bathroom break or something. Astrea wants to check in.
Couple long games we've had here so far. But as we get ready to that again, say thank you all for joining us, of course, as we're going through the Americas finals today for WCS Winter. Tomorrow we will be finishing up Europe. Those players are here as well, so you'll get to see them.
You'll even get a little bit peek of them today, right before the grand finals.
Yep.
So we're going to be playing that FFA with them.
We're going to be making them play the our Battle Royale mode here.
Battle Royale. Are we making them play in Beast of the Hill? Or is it just FFA?
It's a bunch of people fighting each other on no teams, so it qualifies. It qualifies in my heart.
But are team alliances locked, Nate?
Yes, usually, yes. Yeah.
I one time tried to organize an FFA amongst like a bunch of players. And we left team. I was like, we'll leave team alliances unlocked so people can just decide. It got down to like 4 people out of 8, and they're like, "Do you guys want to just all ally victory? Allied victory?" And then the game just ended. I'm like, "What? We had an FFA that didn't finish."
Yep.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah, that takes me back to the Brood War days. Very standard.
Oh, feels bad, man. But
okay, guys. Well, then at some point, actually, 3 of you agree behind your back to unally one guy.
Yeah.
And just ruin his day.
That's what happens. But ladies and gentlemen, it sounds like we're going to go into a short little break. Astrea needs to use the restroom and rest up for that 3rd game. So ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. This is a best of 5. We got more StarCraft to head your way. back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS Winter Americas Playoffs. Nate, what did you do during the break?
I let someone know that we would not be getting into the game soon. Somebody was upset that we were talking about the tournament and the players and talking to M. Canning. There's someone out there who did not enjoy seeing M. Canning's face.
What?
And I'm just going to say it. You are wrong. That man is a national treasure. But, yeah, it's all tied up. One apiece. Just like M. Canning said it would be. A close series.
It's like our America's expert knows something about the Americas region.
Yeah. I'm for one, is always happy to hear the thoughts and words of those in our community.
I mean, we should always listen to the founding fathers.
And prop up this amazing game. And hopefully you guys got yourselves a snack, because this match is looking like one right now. As we move into Automaton for Game 3, we're starting to load in.
Ooh, I'm excited. Automaton, a bit of a different map. It's like a long distance for the ground and everything, but the main base is very large. And while Cham hasn't exactly been one of the players that really exploited the nice rooms like someone, say, Scarlet did, he is someone that would occasionally go for it. And this is honestly not a bad map for it. So we'll see. Does he feel like it's still something to utilize? Obviously, we saw a little bit of it in the last game, but that game didn't go so well for him.
No, it did not. Let's see what he can get done in our third map. This is the World Championship Series. Spawning on the right side as our Red Zerg player, he is Cham.
Reppin' Team Chivo.
Yeah.
And over on the other side of the map, we got our blue Protoss player, repping Team Alpha X Esports. He is Astrea. Got his Alpha X jersey on today. He brought an Alpha X flag to the studio.
Being Alpha was not enough. They had to take Alpha to the extreme. All right.
Can you think about that? He is not only named Max Angel, he's also on the Alpha team. The extreme Alpha team.
It's about as hardcore as it gets.
And this is a pretty hardcore move once again, going for the Nexus first.
Yep. So he wants his money. And, I mean, the last game, the dedicated Oracle Harass did a really good job. We've already got a front page Reddit post about it. And shout out to you guys being quick on the draw. We've had a lot of really good engagement from you guys on a lot of the stuff that's been happening here. It's been really nice to have some regular StarCraft broadcasts to bring to you as we get ready to finish up our winter season this weekend. Just want to show a little bit of appreciation for all the people showing the love to the WCS circuit.
Especially the people tossing out all the good clips and everything. Making sure that the folks that maybe didn't wake up on time, they know what they missed out on. They know to catch those VODs after they see those juicy clips.
Who on earth would sleep in on a Saturday and miss WCS? Like,
I mean, I woke up at 4 in the morning because I was so excited.
Yeah.
Nate.
Well, I mean, we would have done that normally anyway, right?
Well, they don't have to know that. Okay, well, we do have, of course, the Zealot first over here from Astrea, just because he needs to be sure that he went for the Nexus first. He can deal with any kind of Ling harassment, any few units that Cham goes for. But Cham, no. He's just going for pure drones. He adds on the 2 queens. No Zerglings whatsoever, as he just goes straight up to the third base and says, yeah, okay, you can do your Nexus first thing. I'm fine with that. Worked out great for me last time.
Yeah, in my experience, there really is no way to out-greed a Zerg, you know? And I feel like there's like, Zerg is such a reactionary race that there are so many things that kind of like trigger certain responses or give you like an inclination that you can do certain things. And I feel like the Zerg's favorite is when you get that vibe that's like, oh, I can just do whatever I want. It's like, oh, you want to play the greed game? Well, you can get out a crazy amount of drones and you can do a lot with that. So let's see what Astrea. What?
Oh my god! Okay.
No.
So hold on. Astrea a few weeks ago sent me a replay of him doing something to Demi, and I don't think it's gonna be able to happen this time because the Zerglings over here are gonna cause some problems. But he built a bunch of shield batteries by the Zerg player's third base, sent his Zealot and Stalker across the map, went for a proxy Robo there, killed the third base, and I love Demi, but Demi got a little bit humiliated there. Cham is not gonna let that happen though. Cham picks off the Zealot, picks off the Probe, forces a cancel on the Pylon, says, no, Astrea, you don't get to make a meme out of me.
The Stalker barely escaping through the Bifrost there as the Void Ray Chrono begins, and we have that robotic facility. So this is going back to basics. This is what we saw on King's Cove as far as the strategy goes with this quick Void Ray. Not surprising to see the Robo follow-up. Not surprising to see the Forge. But how many Void Rays is he going to build? 2. Okay, is this going to be trickling out Void Rays? Are we going into Colossus still?
He cancels the Pylon over there, and that is the only gap in the wall. So a bunch of the Lings get in, and a few of them even get into the main base, so they're going to be annoying. Probes being pulled off the line. Now, Astrea should have no trouble cleaning these up eventually, but this is still very annoying. Some lost mining time. And of course, the big scout here for Cham.
Yeah, the Probes being forced to come off the line to try and fight for their lives. Not what you want. A lot of missed mining time. Gonna have to take your attention to split the Probes back onto the
He's not
gas
putting guys
geysers.
back in gas yet.
He's not mining any gas.
So it's gonna set off his build, and of course, that's so annoying for an early game Protoss player to just suddenly have your build order not really line up the way that you want it to. Your timings are gonna be a little bit delayed for whatever you were planning.
But hey, look at that. The Prism is coming out right now too. So I think we're gonna be seeing that early assault attempt, but he doesn't have gateways. So it's just a micro prism. Okay.
Yeah, I think
he's gonna get the Robo Bay in a
one
third,
gateway.
But I was gonna say you can't really attack with this.
I was convinced he was gonna go for the 4 Stalker drop or something, but yeah, you're right. He even warps in a unit back at home. He's not loading up anything to the Warp Prism, so he can actually only harass with like 1 gateway unit at a time with that Warp Prism.
Okay.
I'm actually wondering if the gateways were supposed to have gone down a bit ago, but the Zergling run-by actually threw off his build. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that might
It's
have been
that, or it could have been a big mind game where he tries to force a bunch of units out of position and the Void Ray kills units.
Yeah, Void Ray's doing a good job of harassing. We did see stuff like this earlier. Seen that Void Ray use like an old school, like an TDC Viking. And it's like, yeah, he's got the Prism here, but
he's actually supply blocked him pretty heavily.
It's just 1 unit, right? Yeah, he can only
1 adept.
I will open the floodgates of ire.
I will eventually kill these drones.
It's like, well, it's just you. That's all they brought. It's like, yeah.
1 man and a mission. Max Angel.
Phoenix being added on alongside a Colossus. The Phoenix is an interesting add because normally the Phoenix is really useful for cleaning a bunch of the overlords around the map. There's the second adept.
He's waiting for the 1 gateway to get off cooldown.
You know what my favorite part is? He could have warped them in outside of the main base in case this got scouted. He did both of them in the main base, and now he's actually going to be able to get a decent number of workers.
Oh my god.
Wow.
There's something so wrong about what just happened, yet so right.
That's
watching Astrea play StarCraft. We got Baneling trying to run through the sentries.
Okay, that was still...
Just go north. Get the last one. No.
It doesn't get the second sentry, but gets a Stalker. I mean, losing one of the sentries is still annoying here for Astrea, because remember, he wants to hallucinate Phoenix Scouts, he wants to be able to keep an eye on things, although I guess the Void Rays are kind of keeping an eye on things for now. And we do have Hydras on the way out here for Cham. So Astrea was able to put on a little bit more pressure, just a tiny bit more pressure than he did in the first game. We'll see if that does change things up, because he's still going into that Colossus mid-game, adding on Stalkers.
But he's put himself into a significantly better position for this phase of the game to make that happen. And
4 adept harassment!
We do have, at long last, more than 1 warp gate. So starts the shades immediately so that he can pull out whenever the occasion presents itself. And there you go, just grabs a couple more drones and straight into the Prism.
I love it.
Yo, my dude, the Void Rays are still alive. I appreciate the Overlord spread. You want to have vision for the Prism, but did he get them? He didn't get them.
He got one of the Void Rays. I think there is still another Void Ray alive and
oh my god, I love this. This is the best. It's like, you killed the Void Ray,
but I had a backup Void Ray.
I just want to note, that was the 6th Overlord killed by these Void Rays.
Max Overlord killing.
Well, we got a lot of the Banelings being added on here. Despite all of the damage that Cham has been taking, he's still up at a very healthy drone count. He's got his 4 bases up. He's going for his 5th base, and Astrea when is that big move out going to happen? It looks like he's got his Colossus in the middle. He did sort of delay this last time. He said, okay, I'm going to move out. I'm going to force out some units. I'm not going to commit early on.
It is a little different this time, though, because he actually has Blink. He got it very quickly. Charge is going to be following that up.
This area is way more open.
Because he's been building a lot of the Stalkers, because they soak a little bit better versus these Banelings. It's his army has just a little bit more utility, a little more micro ability behind it at the moment.
I think it's going to be so important. Where does he take the engagement, though? Because remember, last time he utilized the choke point. This time, we even got some Baneling bombs.
But you have Stalkers.
Oh.
Yeah.
One of the Overlords, two of the Overlords down. And Stalkers take like a little bit of shield damage.
Good focus fire. He did not freeze like a deer in the headlights.
Well, some Adepts going to try and shade forward and draw the units out of position, giving him time to maybe move over to the 4th base.
Yeah, that's just bait. So he's just trying to pull the army over here.
He's doing a good job of it. His army gets into position, and it seems like there might be a flank being set up over here for Cham.
Yeah, and I like that. You know, I don't know whether it was intentional or not to have that one Stalker over there to see that this was happening. Really good play.
+1 arrow weapons already on the way. More Void Rays being added on. Astrea is trying to adapt from game number 1, so he's not committing nearly as hard as he did in the first game. And is already gearing up for a transition to prepare for Broodlords.
A large quantity of Banelings and the Stalkers. Excuse me, the Zealots all die.
That Colossus can eat up a couple of Banelings, no problem.
That Colossus is, he's a thick boy.
Not actually the best engagement over there for Cham. Really didn't do the damage I think he was hoping for. So many Banelings and Hydras there.
Yeah, +3 attack is coming in now as well. And we all know the Colossus, very strong when it gets those upgrades with the way that area of effect damage works.
I feel like the transition came out so much faster here for Astrea, and the fact that he didn't end up losing his entire army in the middle. If you can deal with these kind of Baneling run-bys, not lose too many workers, I think Astrea's
close. He
eight
gets
workers.
probes.
I mean, +2 melee does mean he one-shots the workers, but I really like Astrea's position compared to the first game in this one. Now, the big scare here is he still is very far out on the map. He's still trying to sell the story that I'm still about to come kill you. And is Cham going to be falling for it, or is Cham just actually going to be closing in on this army and cleaning it up?
Well, he is setting himself up for the most gnarly surround. Astrea's going to start to pull back just a little bit, splits off the Warp Prism.
A lot of Lings and Banelings getting picked off over here. The one Stalker on the right-hand side does spot out these Lings. Throws into Force Fields.
He's trying to retreat back through this choke point. Actually has the Archons there, even if he did have
God, the Banelings are on top of his army now, and they're going to go off on a lot of the Colossus. The Colossus still surviving, though.
Yeah, but he has lost so much of his valuable units, and there's only those 2 Colossus. One, and it is barely standing. Just a gentle gust of wind should topple it. And there's still Banelings, so what are you going to warp in to stop this? Nothing.
Zealots are not going to be enough, and Archon morphs in to try and save its life. The one Colossus does go down, and Cham is looking for blood here, knocking out the 4th base, and he has his Greater Spire on the way behind us. He has his own tech transition set up.
Man, Cham is so good. His positioning is just disgusting. He has
some harassment at the top middle space, by the way.
Such good surrounds, such good flanks.
Top middle. Okay, well, looks like they get cleaned up, yeah.
Yeah, something just poking. That's the Prism with Zealots in it, but it's not. Don't think it's going to be enough here, Fear Dragon.
Okay.
I mean, Astrea is down 70 supply. He's getting some warp-ins, but the power units that take forever to build. It's not like he's sitting on a large quantity of resources to start chronoing out and get up to like 4 or 5 Colossi again. And even if he does, Corruptors are coming out now.
Oh
my God, the Bane train won't be stopped.
Astrea's already down to 55 workers now, and again, he doesn't have a 4th base. He's gonna lose even more workers over here, and more Banelings come in after all the shield batteries and cannons have been dealt with. Ladies and gentlemen, that is now a very sad looking Protoss right there. Astrea.
That base.
Trouble. And
yeah.
when you're on, okay, you know, Astrea,
your army versus the army she told you not to worry about, Fear Dragon.
This is not going to go well. There's more Banelings being morphed in. His army's going to get surrounded. He does have some Storms available, but only 2 Storms. Morphs in the Archon, and is going to get cleaned up here in game number 3. Cham going up in series once again.
Well done. The story continues. Cham's success comes out of these very good, well-positioned fights. The Hydra Ling Bane doing wonders for him.
Yeah.
It's been really, really good. Really clean execution. And I'm just going to say it one more time. His positioning, phenomenal. Phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal positioning. The flanks, the surrounds, 100% perfect and really taking advantage of. Those Colossi are good, but when you're in those open areas, when you're trying to make that push on the Protoss side of things, you are going to expose yourself, and that area of effect damage becomes a lot less useful when you're not able to funnel the Zerg army through a ramp or a choke point or something to that degree.
I'm not really a big fan of going for that kind of push out on Automaton. We saw how much trouble Astrea had getting into a good position where he could exploit that, where he tried to move up the ramp, going over toward the left-hand side of the third base, you know, where the gold is, and over there he kind of said, no, there's some units coming in from behind, I gotta go back. I tried to move into the other base that's just on the low ground of the main, and he says, no, I'm getting surrounded over there, so he has to pull back, and then as soon as he tries to go back home, that's when Cham says, okay, well, that's another big wide open area.
Yep.
So he catches him, a couple of force fields come down, but the force fields don't do anything because it's literally just an open field.
I think I would have just liked to see him actually commit to one of those attacks, because if he pushes up that ramp by the gold base area on the right side, if he at least tries to make that attack work and there is a flank, he can at least cut off the bridge behind him. Like that ramp is, you can sever that with the force fields, but because he was so back and forth and in and out, as you said, when he tried to go home, the way that recall works, you're not going to be able to get that whole army out of there without walking it back. You go through that big open area, and that's where Cham is able to say, yeah, well, I'll just bring the whole army down on you. You can't do anything here anyway.
Yeah, interesting decision to go for that kind of style again on Automaton, and we're starting to see that Astrea's having trouble in, I guess, whenever the game turns into a normal-ish looking game. It's when Astrea is able to go for some kind of early pressures and stuff, like game number 2, and even in the round-robin games, it's when he's able to go for the early pressures that he starts to throw Cham for a loop.
Blinkstalker Colossus used to be really good out of like a Void Ray opening or two, like 5 years ago when Hydralisks sucked. And Hydralisks are pretty...
They're a little bit better now.
Hydralisks can fight these days, and we're really seeing it with especially the positioning. That composition can work if the Zerg gets hasty in their attack, and you get a couple force fields. Those Colossi will destroy an infinite number of Hydras trying to push through a choke or up a ramp or something like that.
If there weren't flanks over there, I actually think that Astrea probably breaks through and takes on that army pretty handily with some good micro.
But that all comes back to Cham's game sense, his awareness of the army positioning, his map awareness. He's doing it all without creep, by the way. He's winning all these fights off creep. He's chasing him out to the middle of the map because I complimented Astrea for this. He did it on King's Cove as well. He did a really good job of clearing out all the creep spread. So he's able to make the most of not an ideal situation, but just enough opportunity to punish Astrea that he now sits up 2-1. And he could be making his way to the next room of the of our Elite Four over here.
Yeah, facing off versus Masa. The winner will. We're going on to year 0. Nice, big, wide open map. But I want to note that this has a lot of choke points. So the map itself is a long distance across the map, and that is wide. But the actual areas where a lot of fights and stuff will take place, much more narrow corridors. A lot easier to exploit things like force fields.
Yeah, let's see what they can make of it as we get loaded in here. It is game number 4. You're watching the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series. Spawning in the top right position as the red Zerg player representing Chivo, he is Cham.
Going to be breaking 60K minimum with the winnings from this event.
Nice.
Starting up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have our blue Protoss players in down 1 and 2 in this best of 5. He is Astrea. Team Alpha X.
Max Angel. Alpha Extreme.
Yeah. Actually lives local here. Drove down, didn't have to take a plane or anything.
Nice.
Nice, comfortable journey over. I think he still decided to stay in the hotel just so he didn't have to worry about a long commute or anything, but lives in Southern California. Very comfortable here.
Cool.
Cool.
No doubt. We have that Nexus first again.
He loves it.
Astrea, you know what? He's not just playing in this tournament because he likes StarCraft Fear Dragon. You know what else he clearly loves?
Memes.
Money. I'm not going to disagree with you on that because his builds look weirdly similar to what I do when I try to play Protoss, which is be really greedy and build Void Rays and then remember that Void Rays are not that great.
It's like whenever someone off-races as Protoss, there's a very distinct look. Like
yes, no, it's very, very true.
Because you look at it, you look at it and you say, God, I hate the Protoss players on the ladder. I'm going to do the extreme version of what everyone's doing to me.
There's few things that give better catharsis than playing Protoss and cheesing a Terran when you're
this
a Terran
is
player.
This is why whenever I play Terran, I just make mass Thors, because I feel so frustrated whenever I go up against mass Thors.
Yeah, because it's like, well, it shouldn't work, but that's the funny thing about StarCraft is when we watch these tournaments and you guys tuning in, you see all of this, we're seeing, like, imagine that, like, really, really high quality water filter where it's like, yeah, we got out all the parts per million. Now we're pretty much like at distilled. Like, pro top tier StarCraft is very distilled from the type of stuff that you see on the ladder. But when you play the game a lot yourself and you're going through those lower leagues and that's not like top 10 GM, you see so much crazy stuff. And that's why Astrea is fun to watch, because it feels like his builds are not quite distilled. He has brought some of that filth of the NA ladder up with him into WCS, and we are seeing it strewn about here. And it's been a fun series so far.
Astrea's water, it looks still a little bit red, a little bit orange. You're like, what's going on here? Is this blood in the water? What happened? Where did this come from? And we do have a Robo and Twilight on the way this time, so he is mixing it up from the previous games. He's not going for that Stargate opening. He's not going for the Void Ray stuff. And the kind of interesting thing is, this might actually just be Astrea playing a super standard style of PvZ, because he is also very capable of doing that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't hate to see it. We've got the Zealot blocking off. He does like getting that Stalker early on. And you compare it to, say, like a guy like Neeb, right? Neeb loves the Adept.
Yep.
Adept is kind of the gold standard. A lot of greedy players, like if you can skip the Zealot, sometimes you will. I think if a Nexus first, you kind of almost have to get it if you want to be safe against any type of early aggression.
Yeah.
But the Stalker allows you to deny a little bit of the scouting. Also tells your opponent, I don't want you to see what I'm doing, which always has like that mental side effect where, are you doing something crazy? Yeah. Is this Stalker to make me think you're doing something crazy?
Ooh, okay. Well, I am a big fan of this.
Didn't we see something like this from him in the round robin stage as well? It
so
worked very well.
That one, that game that he did that in the round robin stages, you're right. We did see something similar, but that was going off the double gas, opening the one base, kind of late natural. This is still similar idea, but he's also getting up charged. So he's going to go for the big Zealot 4-gate pressure, follows it up with the Dark Shrine to try and catch a Zerg player off guard, because the Zerg player is going to see all of these Zealots, he's going to see the Warp Prism warping in and stuff and say, okay, I have to get up all of the units I can right now. I can't sacrifice any additional economy. I have to get up Queens. I can't really afford my lair, which, by the way, he already got this game, so he will be covered in that regard. But the thing about it is that in Overseer, even if you have your lair, if you have 4 DTs that get the first swipe off on a hatchery or a lair, you are guaranteed the kill if you haven't warped an Overseer. But look at this. Cham is so prepared. He's already got the Overseer ready. He's ready for the charge lot pressure right now with a bunch of roaches coming out. He didn't overdrone. This is a really good defense so far from Cham.
Now let's see what he can get done. Roaches are an amazing response to deal with these Zealots early on, but lo and behold, Immortals are going to be made back home behind this. Whether or not a 3rd and 10's to be taken remains to be seen. But you see this, these Zealots, you're like, nope, nope, peacing out. And he's already got the Roaches waiting in the main as well. So this situation has presented itself that it's not going to be this magical Rotterdam 0-8 double prism memery. He's prepared on both sides.
Yep.
Ready to rock and roll.
Yeah. It's also difficult with so many roaches out to even make Archon drops or anything happen. So the DTs are warped in, and he's going to also be getting a scout up to see where the Overseer is. If there's any spores over here, he does see the Spore Crawler, and he's going to be able to get some damage done. That Warp Prism does also take a lot of damage from that Spore Crawler, and the Zealots trying to get a run by in, not really getting anything done. And the 3rd base is getting denied by Creep now. He's got to send a Stalker over to deal with that, but this is all a big delay.
This was a perfectly defended assault. And so trying to look on the bright side, I am interested to see what Cham does from here, because he had the lair, he has roach speed already, but making a push with a bunch of roaches. He's getting Ling speed now, but just roaches, I don't actually see him able to really do anything on the other side of the map, because the Archon drop is there to harass, but the Immortal count, he's about to have 3 Immortals. And just pushing with Roaches, we saw that did not work for him earlier on New Repugnancy. So it makes me a little bit hesitant. I want to see where the transition for Cham is because he hasn't started a Hydra Den. We don't have a Baneling Nest. And I'm just a little bit concerned, Fear Dragon. Maybe he's expecting a double down from Astrea on the all-in. He is checking the third again.
Yeah, I think the thing is you can go for this kind of roach harassment and just leave a few of those roaches back at home. And the thing is, I don't think he needs to go for a big attack right now. He can just continue to try and defend against the Archon harassment and deal with the Warp Prison pressure.
But that's my concern because he's still building roaches. There's still no other tech.
He did drone up. He did drone up, but you're right. He doesn't have any other tech, and that might start
These
to
roaches are all going to die.
Oh, boy.
He's going to trade these out for just Zealots at this point. The Sentry should be able to get away. The Immortals are going to obliterate those dudes.
Is he actually trying to take a third, though? He's been sitting on 44 workers for such a long time. I actually think this is a fake out.
Well, yeah, I didn't think he was going to, but that was why I was worried. Because I'm like, once you get up to like that 4 or 5 like absurd immortal count, then we're hitting into like uncharted meme territory with how many roaches you can kill. The answer is a lot. But Cham has a disgusting amount of roaches. He's at to 42. He has 7 more on the way, and he's got a Noidus coming in to tunnel across the map with the rest of his forces.
Nate, I'm almost positive that Astrea was just looking to all-in him. So this gets really weird now because
in the main, he's Nidusing the main, so the force fields are there, but there's no reaction. He's got to beam him up, Scotty, and try to get to this.
But he can kill this pretty quickly now. He knows that the army's moving across the map. But the funny thing is, again, I think the third was just a total fake out. He's still just sitting on 44 workers.
And I actually like that Nidus as a bait. Because in my mind, I see that as a recall bait. Because he gets over to the third now. The sentries won't force field him in the middle of the map because they all went home. This should be an easy third denial, or at best, if he wants to fight, he's got a very wide arc to attack now.
Yeah, I think that is going to be the big saving grace here, as he has to be a little bit careful about these Immortals doing so much damage. But once that frontline buffer is gone, and even the force fields are going to start to run thin, you're going to start to see that these roaches collapsing and start taking out some of these Immortals.
Still 4 Immortals alive. They're being backed up to the ramp of the natural, though. One of them getting very low, gets a pick off. Third one might go down. Only 2 Immortals left. One very weak. It goes down. That's one final Immortal to try and defend against this, as another one's going to be chrono boosted out, but it's not enough. GG! Cham takes the first match here at the WCS Winter Finals.
3-1, a dominating performance here from Cham. Did a fantastic job holding off against all the weird
positioning,
stuff.
his tactics, his game sense, his map awareness, so good. Every single time Astrea stepped down on the map, Cham was ready to greet him. His positioning with his units was phenomenal. The bait Nidus to force the recall so he could get on the third was perfect. He did not take any of those fights on Astrea's terms, and that is why he dominated in this series. This was a treat to watch.
It was absolutely wonderful, and Cham really showing how strong he's looking. And I mean, I want to bring it back to the fact that his next opponent, his next potentially 2 opponents are going to be Terran players.
Yep.
He is the guy that beat Special and made sure that Special wasn't going to be here in the top 6. This guy could make a really good run. He's looking good today.
That was all part of his arc, right? Because we talked about that in the round robin, that the match history wasn't very good for him against Special, and being able to make that happen, and now he can continue that and show that ZVT prowess. He looked so good here. If he brings that positional play out, honestly, I see him being able to take down a guy like Masa. Masa, he's a little bit shaky from time to time. We don't know which Masa has shown up. He's not the most consistent.
Masa doesn't know which Masa's going to show up.
That's true. Has he shown up yet? I haven't seen him. I don't know.
He looked a little disheveled this morning, but he's here.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a big, I think, opportunity here for Cham to make a deep run. And again, I was talking about this. 2017 set up a lot of expectations, got really, really far in some of those WCS events, making it to the playoffs, making deep runs there. But then 2018 didn't quite make it as far as a lot of people were hoping for. He built up a lot of the hype there for the Cham fans. And now 2019, he's looking a lot better. He's looking really strong and wants to set up for a really strong 2019 opening.
Yeah, and he looked great. I'm really excited to see. So we were talking about the way that this bracket works for this tournament. Cham, with that victory, he's got the first win in the Elite Four. He's going to have to go up against everybody else that he's already played in that round robin to make his way up to Lance. And we'll see if that is possible. It's a grueling road, though. He's got to go up against the best players in Americas.
Indeed, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, as we take a look at that bracket, I know that Cham, again, going to be facing off versus Masa, but even after that time, you can guarantee he is going to be keeping a close eye on Cham during that series versus Masa to see what he's up to, how that TvZ is being played, all of that good stuff. To see exactly how he has to adjust. Of course, the winner of that's going to still face off versus Neeb a little bit later on. And then the winner of that will face off versus Scarlet in the grand finals. Again, $12,000 first place there. And Astrea had a good run, still got to come over here to the offline finals, and he's still going to be walking away with $3,000 in some WCS points. So didn't walk away completely empty-handed.
No, and really, just great job by him putting forth, I think, some really interesting styles, playing a little bit of a different flavor, but there is a reason why the builds get distilled.
Yeah.
Fear Dragon.
I think Astrea, I'm still really, really looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do. I know he was actually planning to go to Korea to train and actually participate in GSL Season 3. That's at least part of his plans, so be on the lookout for him, see if he's going to be able to qualify. He also made some murmurings of some other NA players that might be going that aren't just the usual suspects. So I'm looking forward to that. But ladies and
Fear
gentlemen,
Dragon bringing the Blink DTs to GSL.
Astrea does bring the Blink DTs sometimes.
Okay.
He's repped him well. But ladies and gentlemen, we have with us here on the desk in just a little bit, we're going to have Cham here for an interview. So let us know in Twitch chat. What do you want us to ask Cham? We'll be keeping an eye out, or
Yeah.
I'll try to.
Well, bring us your questions as
Yeah.
we're setting up here. And yeah, I complicated everything because I had to move my box.
I know.
I had to do it on the fly.
Well, don't worry, because we got one player who's flying forward with the results right
What's up?
now. Cham, how you doing after that match?
Pretty good, pretty happy. I was expecting a different Astrea, but everything worked my way, so really happy.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the round robin, Astrea was going for a lot of these kind of more one-basey opening builds with a much later Nexus at the natural. And I remember in the round robin, it happened the first time, seemed like you were maybe caught off guard. The second game, you were just like, no, I'm pool firsting. I'm just going to crush this. Were you expecting that kind of Astrea, like those kind of weird pressure builds there? Or
I was expecting a non-targets Astrea, like opening like the in year 0, things like that.
Yeah.
So every time I saw this target and like the Nexus first, I was just so confident, except for game 2 for sure, for sure. But yeah, I was expecting a 2-base Astrea.
I gotta ask on the new Repugnancy game, what was going through your mind when he dove in with the oracles on the third base?
Oh, that was so embarrassing. But yeah, I mean, I just didn't have the queens in position, and I should have just replaced them right away. I scouted everything. I scouted no third, and I sent the second override thing. And but yeah, just the queens out of position.
awesome. Well, I know that you also recently joined your new team, which you are repping very appropriately there with your brand new shirt, Team Chivo. Tell us, what's it been like? What's the team like? What's it like having M. Canning on your team, the legend?
Feels good, man. Pretty happy about it. A lot of communication, and actually the owner speaks Spanish. So
Oh, nice. Yeah.
yeah, also so it's just really good communication, and I have I can practice with. I can get the contacts to Korea to practice there. So yeah, that's pretty good.
So we had a couple of interesting discussions and thoughts about your series versus special in the round of 8. If you are to keep advancing here, you're going to be playing versus Terrans. How are you feeling in that matchup? Do you feel confidence going into this based on your performance previously?
Yeah, I practice. So I practice more against Terran than against Protoss actually. So well, I mean, if I focus like I did, I think I can win and go towards Nib and maybe just 50-50. I don't know. But yeah, against Terran, if I play like how I know, I'm good, focus. I think I can advance.
And have you ever played time outside of in the round
Yeah,
robin
yeah.
here?
We play ladder.
Okay,
I win sometimes, he wins sometimes. So.
cool.
All right. So it seems like you're looking confident in making a deep run further forward, especially with the ZVT matchups coming up then. But do you have any kind of shout-outs you want to do for your team or anyone else out there that's helped you practice, anything like that?
Well, yeah. Well, thanks to my team, obviously, my family, friends, my coaches, all my practice partners, and yeah, I hope I can win. I advance to the finals or even win the tournament. Why not? Let's go.
That'd be awesome.
All right, well, congratulations once again, Cham. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be moving into Cham versus Masa coming up next. So don't go anywhere. You're watching the WCS Winter Americas section.
Cheeky little Bane run by, making its way through. There is some SimCity with the warp-ins, with the Banelings. Oh, wow, look at that.
Oh, they don't have +2 weapons. So if he can hold out long enough.
Wow, this is a really nice grab. Gets these morphing Baneling.
Fungal Grow's coming down on top of this army saying, you cannot leave.
You cannot blink out of Fungal. This isn't the old days.
If he can pick out some of the Broodlords, if he can survive over here, there's hope, but no. GG. I do want to also note that as these Oracles pick up even more drone kills and Astrea takes the work count lead. Knight is, oh my god, he almost threw that nice worm right in front of the Oracles, and the Oracles just kill every single drone in this mineral line. Oh my god. Astrea doing a great job with this push. He mixed it up a really, really big bit. And the 2-base all in here from Astrea. Throws out a 4 force fields.
He's trying to retreat back through this choke point. Actually has the Archons there, even if he did have.
Oh god, the Banelings are on top of his army now, and they're gonna go off on a lot of the Colossus. The Colossus still surviving though.
Yeah, but he has lost so much of his valuable units, and there's only those 2 Colossus. One, and it is barely standing. Just a gentle gust of wind should topple it.
This is not gonna go well. There's more Banelings being morphed in. His army's gonna get surrounded. He does have some storms available, but only 2 storms. Morphs in the Archon, and is gonna get cleaned up here in game number 3.
Still 4 Immortals alive. They're being backed up to the ramp of the Natural, though. One of them getting very low, gets a pick off. Third one might go down. Only 2 Immortals left. One very weak. It goes down. That's one final Immortal to try and defend against this. As another one's gonna be chrono boosted out, but it's not enough. GG, Cham takes the first match here at the WCS Winter Finals.